The September 23 Revelation 12 sign is essentially a biblical event, a biblical discussion, a scriptural discussion, and a scriptural controversy. It is something based in the biblical study. It is something based in the biblical text. It is something based in biblical studying and biblical science. So I thought it might be a good idea, since it is biblical and it is astronomical, I thought it might be a good idea to bring in biblical and astronomical experts to comment on the September 23rd Revelation 12 sign. Now, we already have a lot of people that call themselves biblical experts weighing in on this. And as far as we're concerned, we've got three. We've got L.A. Marzulli, we've got Scott Clark, and we've got yours truly. So let's look at the comparative qualifications of the three of us, if you will. I'll go first. I'm a Bible college graduate. For 20 years, I was a licensed minister with three of the largest Protestant denominations in the world. I have over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical text. I have over 36 years of biblical and parabiblical research. 10,000 hours qualifies you as an expert. I have 100,000 hours. Am I an expert 10 times over? I'm just telling you what the numbers say. I've been peer reviewed by the standard journal of our genre 7 times. That's Coast to Coast AM. I think my credentials as a biblical scholar, expert, commentator are relatively formidable. And that doesn't even include the 2 years of collegiate level anthropology I have with a 4.0 grade point average. Doesn't get any better than that. So in terms of interpreting biblical texts, in terms of interpreting languages and cultures and beliefs and teachings, my credentials are formidable. I also don't have any denominational tenets to defend. I'm not a biblical Christian. I'm not an evangelical Christian. I don't have a dog in the fight. Therefore, I have the advantage of objectivity. Bible college graduate, 100,000 hours of biblical study, 36 years of biblical and parabiblical study, and 2 years of collegiate level anthropology study. Does Marzulli have a Bible college degree? No. Does L.A. Marzulli have 100,000 hours of studying the biblical scriptures? No. He does not. Does he have 36 years in the study of parabiblical and biblical? Maybe. He's older than me. Has he been peer reviewed by the standard journal as often as I have? Yes, probably more. I've only been in this 4 years. He's been in it many, many more. So who's more qualified between Jeffrey Darty and L.A. Marzulli to speak on things biblical? Objectively, and plus Marzulli is a dyed-in-the-wool Christian, has doctrines to defend, has denominations to defend. He's got a horse in the game. He's got a dog in the fight. Strictly biblically speaking, my qualifications far exceed those of L.A. Marzulli to be a commentator on this subject. My objectivity, my formal Bible college training, and my 100,000 hours of purely biblical study trump whatever Marzulli can bring to the table. Objectively speaking, I'm a far better expert, biblically speaking, biblical interpretation, biblical hermeneutics, biblical understanding. I'm better than Marzulli, period. My credentials are better than Marzulli's. Does Scott Clark have a Bible college degree? Nope. Was Scott Clark ever a licensed minister? Nope. Was Marzulli ever a licensed minister? Nope. Does Scott Clark have 100,000 hours in biblical study? Nope. Does Scott Clark have 36 years studying parable? Nope. Does Marzulli? Maybe. Does Clark have the peer review credentials that I do? Nope. So if we're talking about biblical interpretation, if we're talking about Bible literature between Marzulli, Clark, and Darty, it's no contest. I'm Floyd Mayweather. I don't even think they're Conor McGregor. They're Manny Pacquiao. Because Pacquiao never laid a glove on Mayweather. I'm the money here. I'm Money Mayweather when it comes to this discussion as far as biblical credentials go. Objectively, hands down, cannot be argued. Now, let's talk about astronomical. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have astronomical credentials. My biblical credentials are astronomical. But I'm not going to tell you that I have great astronomical credentials. But I think what we can do is turn to someone who does. Someone who is a college professor, someone that is an actual astronomer, whose credentials would far exceed mine, far exceed Marzulli's, far exceed Clark's. So what do you say we look at a fellow who actually is an astronomer? I mean, as crazy as it is to, if you're talking about astronomy, to actually get an astronomer, as crazy it is, as crazy as it is that if you're actually going to look for biblical interpretation, get a Bible college graduate, get a minister, get a person that's done it for 100,000 hours. As crazy as that sounds, let's get an astronomer to talk about astronomy. What do you say? And I found just such a guy. And I think you're going to be impressed with what the dude has to say. Biblical signs in the sky. It's not coming from any religious type of organization. It's coming from Earth Sky, earthsky.org. Christopher M. Graney, Astronomy Essentials in the Human World. And look at that. You're in the future because it comes out tomorrow. Let me show you who this fellow is, first of all. Whoops, we were way down in the comments. Christopher M. Graney is professor of physics and astronomy at Jefferson Community and Technical College in Louisville, Kentucky, where he helps keep the college's observatory running. So wait a minute, this guy's a college professor that runs the observatory. And the observatory is where you look at planets and stuff. For years now, his research has been the history of astronomy. He's author of some books, Setting Aside All Authority, Giovanni Battista Riccioli, and the Science Against Copernicus and the Age of Galileo. And he's got a book coming out, Mathematical Disquisitions, the booklet of thesis immortalized by Galileo, both published by the University of Notre Dame Press. Fairly significant, fairly reputable institution, I would say, Notre Dame. So, here we have an astronomer, and he's going to talk to us about the Revelation 12 sign. He says that one day he was sitting at his desk, his phone rang, somebody called him up and said, "Hey man, why are you worried about talking about silly things like black holes and stuff when there's a great sign that's appearing in the heavens that you really should get on track with?" And he goes on to say that the fellow told him that on September 23rd, 2017, the sun would be in the zodiac constellation Virgo, echoing the book of Revelation saying a woman clothed with the sun. The moon, the caller said, would be at the feet of Virgo, echoing the book of Revelation with the moon under her feet. And the 9 quote-unquote stars of the zodiac constellation Leo, because we know Marzulli and Clarke tell us there's 9 stars in that constellation. And those 9 stars added to the 3 planets, which really aren't stars, but we're going to pretend they're stars, Mercury, Venus, Mars, will be at the head of Virgo, i.e., on her head a crown of 12 stars, according to the book of Revelation. Jupiter is going to be in Virgo. This isn't really addressing the Clarke Marzulli deal, but Jupiter exits to the east, past her feet. She's with a child and wailed aloud in pain as she labored to give birth. Jupiter is the largest of the planets, so to speak, so she gave birth to a son and male child destined to rule all the nations. It must be a great sign of something momentous, right? Well, what the astronomer says is that some of you are probably saying, what a bunch of nonsense. And he's a mind reader, because that's exactly what I was thinking. What a bunch of nonsense. Others are thinking that the caller might have a good point, and I bet the point was covered up by their hair, because they were chuckleheads. But trying to remain objective, but not really. Community college professors are the A-team of the academic world, he says, tougher than anyone else and able to save the day. They thrive on diversity, no question phases them. So there's a lot of people out there that don't have any education in topics like astronomy. People like L.A. Marzulli and people like Scott Clark don't have any education in astronomy, and people like Jeffrey Daugherty, no education in astronomy. So what most of them do is they grab the Stellarium Sky software. I showed you a video yesterday of Scotty Clark. Oh, I looked in the Stellarium and boom, there it was. Look at the skies on September 23rd, 2017. See for yourself that this celestial arrangement is a real thing. Wow, it's a real thing. Scientists need to be able to answer questions like this, but first, people have to ask the questions. And as we go forward, it's going to become clear that Marzulli didn't ask the questions, Clarke didn't ask the questions, and none of the other Revelation 12 sign people are asking the questions because they've already decided what they want to believe. And they've got a lot more problems than Harpazo. Not what Daugherty says, but what the astronomer says. And so Mr. Caller says, this astronomer, this is what the constellations are going to, the constellation of Virgo is going to look like on September 23, 2017, according to the Stellarium Sky software. And the moon's size is even exaggerated so you can see it better. They're trying to help a brother and a sister out. They're trying to help you be able to see the moon better, like I'm trying to help you be able to see this stuff better too. It's about as good as I can go for you. So here's Virgo, here's the moon. Is that under her feet? Well, it's kind of under her feet, but it's like out to the side of her feet, but okay. The moon size is exaggerated for visibility. So is the moon under her feet? See, right there, I'm like, come on, man, that moon ain't under her feet. You know, right away, you know what I'm saying in my head. But we'll move on. And yes, that is my voice on there. Now, here's what is happening in the whole thing here. And the astronomer was kind enough to point this out for us. The green arrow shows the 9 quote-unquote stars of Leo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? Quote unquote 9 stars, and there's a reason for those quotes. The blue arrow shows Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So Marzulli and Clarke want you to believe that 9 stars and 3 planets equals 12 stars. At least they are kind of crowning her head. I got to give them that. The moon's not under her feet, but the stars and planets, there's not 12 stars, but they are crowning her head. I'll give them that. Is she clothed with the sun? That's the sun. Maybe, kind of, sort of. We'll give them that. So here we go. Let's break this down. Let's let the astronomer break this down, okay? And this came from his own observatory, I'm betting. So here we go. You ready for some actual expert testimony? First, in 1 year, thanks to the Earth's annual orbit, the sun travels the entirety of the ecliptic and thus passes through every one of the 12 constellations of the zodiac. Listen, people, hear this. The sun is in Virgo every September. Every September of every year, the woman is clothed with the sun. Every September of every year, the Virgin is clothed with the sun. Every time, every September. Nothing new, nothing unique, nothing to see here. Move along. Second, in 1 month, the moon goes through its cycle of phases. And it too travels the entirety of the ecliptic and thus passes through every constellation of the zodiac because the period of the moon's orbit is 1 month. Therefore, listen, therefore, there is always a day or two every year when the sun is in Virgo and the moon is just to the east of Virgo, just past the feet. And may I add that it's never under her feet when the sun's in Virgo. Can I just throw that in? Because it really bugs me that it's really not under her feet. But there is a day or two every single year where the Virgin, clothed with the sun, has the moon relatively close to her feet. We'll give it to them that it's under their feet, even though I say, exactly. So the celestial Virgin clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, is as common in September as the U.S. holiday of Labor Day. It happens every year. L.A. Marzulli, it happens every year. Scott Clark, it happens every year. But what about that crown of 12 stars, comprised of 3 planets and the 9 stars, quote unquote, of Leo? Well, the response by the astronomer to this question is another question. He's asking, why are you focusing on only 9 stars in Leo? Are you ready for this? There are many more than 9 stars in Leo. There are many more than 9 stars in Leo. And I'll bet you that Marzulli didn't know that. I'll bet you that Clark didn't know that. And the question is, why didn't they know that? Because they're lazy. Because they're poor scholars. There's many more than 9 stars in Leo. The 9 they talk about are just brighter and are often depicted as comprising the general outline or shape of the constellation. But in fact, there are scads of stars. Scads means a whole bunch, hundreds, thousands of stars in Leo surrounding the head of Virgo. If they'd have known there's more than 12 stars in Leo, they wouldn't have had to import planets and pretend they were stars. But that's what happens when you're a lazy, sloppy scholar. You miss things. And you end up doing things that when someone actually studies it, makes you look awfully damn silly. Excuse me. I think I had some bullshit caught in my throat from talking about it so much. Are you picking this up when I'm putting down? There are many more than 9 stars in the constellation Leo, says the astronomer. Look at all them stars, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's all kind of stars in Leo. You know what? If I'd have been making this up, I'd have found just 12 stars in here. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Dude, I could have found 12 easy. But you see, I study. I actually research. Those 2 chuckleheads thought there was only 9 stars in Leo, so that's why they had to invent 3 planets. Shame on them. And even all depictions of Leo don't show it as 9. Some show the outline of Leo consisting of 10 stars. So that would give their Virgo Virgin a crown of 13 stars. Uh-oh. See what happens? Poppy got a little sloppy. Scotty got a little sloppy. LA got a little sloppy, a little lazy. Does LA stand for lazy? Oh, come on now, boys. You're better than this. And it's not like it's complicated. 2 depictions of Leo with 10 or 11 stars rather than 9. The depiction on the left is from an astronomy book for children. I'm assuming that L.A. Marzulli is smart enough to understand an astronomy book for children. I'm assuming that Scott Clark is smart enough to understand an astronomy book for children. Let's do it Sesame Street style. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Even the ex-Pentecostal evangelist can figure that out. But you got to actually sit down and look it up, and you got to actually count them. L-A-Z-Y. Scotty got a little sloppy. And yes, multiple planets being at Virgo's head while Jupiter is in Virgo's center and the moon is at Virgo's feet is somewhat unusual, but not that unusual. But it's happened only once in 7,000 years. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Oh, really? Seems that the truth is, the gospel truth astronomically is, that Jupiter's orbit's a little less than 12 years. Jupiter will be in Virgo with the sun there and the moon under the feet and all the stars every 11 or 12 years. 11 or 12 years. Once in a lifetime, once in 7,000 years, once in 6,000 years. I'll bet Scotty Clark feels a little silly right now, and I bet L-A-Z-Y Marzulli does too. So the sun in Virgo, the moon at Virgo's feet, quote unquote, because it's really not, and Jupiter in the constellation are regular occurrences. This leaves the planets at the head, the number depending upon the number of stars granted to Leo, as the determining factor in making this a momentous celestial arrangement. Indeed, while various internet sources speak of the specific celestial arrangement here as being unique in human history, or once in 7,000 years, it ain't. The astronomer says it's not unique to September 23, 2017. This arrangement has happened before. Always in September. It's happened in 1827, 1483, 1293, 1056. And that's with the astronomer only searching 1,000 years back. He says, if I went back further, it would be many, many more. So let me get this straight. They tell us that this is a once in a lifetime event. This is a once in 7,000 years, once in 6,000 years, totally unique. They're either lying or lazy. L-A-Z-Y Marzulli. Scotty got a little sloppy Clark. Oops. 1827, 1483, 1293, 1056. And that's 4 of them only going back 1,000 years. If we go back 7,000 years, like they say, we're 4,000 BC, bros, sisters. And the astronomer says I probably missed a couple within that time period. So it's at least 4. Uh-oh. 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 Watching the heavens for signs of what is to come is a waste of time, says the astronomer. And wait a minute, I remember the Christ saying, there won't be any signs of my coming. He said, don't say, look over here, look over there. There won't be any signs. My coming comes without observable signs, said the Christ. Now, you can believe L-A-Z-Y Marzulli if you want. You can believe Scotty got a little sloppy Clarke if you want. I think I'm going to believe the Christ and this astronomer. It's a double waste of time because the signs in the sky appeal for some reason to all sorts of people out there who can all use stellarium and find this or that momentous sign signifying whatever they want to signify. L-A-Z-Y Marzulli. Scotty got a little sloppy Clarke, deciding what they want to believe, finding it on stellarium, running with it. And that's why astronomers ignore the seemingly momentous celestial arrangement of September 23. And that's why astronomers ignore the seemingly momentous celestial arrangement of September 23. And that's why astronomers ignore the seemingly momentous celestial event of September 23, 2017, and instead talk about black holes and whatnot. That's called a mic drop right there, folks. That's called a mic drop right there, folks. Here's the bottom line from the astronomical expert. There's nothing unique. There's nothing unusual about the sun, moon, and stars / planets pretending to be stars, or the constellation Virgo on September 23, 2017. Nothing unique, nothing unusual, despite claims on the internet of a unique and significant celestial event, supposedly mirroring the Bible's book of Revelation. In the past 1,000 years, it's happened at least 4 times already. It's happened at least 4 times already. Freddie. But that's none of my business. Actually, it's exactly my business. Because I'm in the bad doctrine busting business, and right now, cousin, business is a booming. You got a biblical expert telling you this is bogus. You got an astronomical expert telling you this is bogus. And you got L-A-Z-Y Marzulli and Scotty got a little sloppy Clarke telling you something else. Why are you letting them get away with this? Why are you believing this stuff? Why are you defending this stuff? Wow. Wow. And let me say that backwards. Wow. Into the chat room we go. I don't want to go back to 80, 70 and look at stellarium. You can do it and you tell us. Happy birthday, Sunshine On. The Virgin in Judgment, send me a button, Jeff. This is what I'm doing, typing the First Nations astrology info. Happy birthday, Cinco de Mayo. People are strange when you're a stranger. Me too. What? LA who, man? Talk about the fake messiah. I vote they don't beef it up. My belly dancing instructor in high school. Wow. My son called me and said we were told it was once in a lifetime back in the 80s. Yeah, once in a very short lifetime. Denying the planets do not affect us is just another swing of the pendulum. Nobody said the planets don't affect us. I said these chuckleheads are wrong about this one. How do we get to talk about boas? We're all talking about boas, constrictors. All right. Tamu is genius. What'd she say this time that was genius? She's always saying something genius. Need to stay on point, not using emotions to justify biblical interpretations, not to mention looking for signs is adulterous. Absolutely. So you have to ask yourself, is L-A-Z-Y Marzulli wicked, adulterous, ignorant, silly, or just L-A-Z-Y? Is Scott Clark wicked, adulterous, ignorant, silly, or lazy? It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to call these things out. Somebody's got to say, listen, man. Hello, Mazden. Jeff, you're better than this. Bagging on people rather than their lack of understanding is beneath you. I love your wisdom, but honestly, you wouldn't have found you without guys like Marzulli and Quayle. This is what I do, Tanhawk Group. Somebody's got to do it. How come nobody else is standing up and saying these guys are wrong, leading people down a path of fear and guilt? I'm in the myth busting business, Tanhawk Group, and cousin, business is a booming. All righty then. Okay, that's what we're doing, and that's what I did, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, folks. Any questions before I cut this thing off? Any answers before I cut this thing off? I don't know how much longer these guys can take this pounding without responding. But there you go. Looks like we've come to a end here, and that's cool. When will you be back? I'll be back pretty soon. You know how I am. I almost never go away. Lazy scholar, but if you're promoting religious doctrine that is unsound, that's not good. You're misleading people. Yep, that's true. Ronan has a question. Ronan, what's your question? Going once? Ronan, what's your question? Going twice? Are you getting nervous and having a hard time typing? Should he trust God or Christ? Yes. Yes is the answer to that. Deb says, I'm sure they're ignoring you. Did you see when Scotty Clark said he was listening and he actually got on and did a little mini debate with me on, whoops, I just dropped my ring, on Rex Bear's show? Thank you, Denise Marie. And I'm not trying to be facetious, Ronan. I think that's almost redundant, although there probably is a God above the person that we know of as the Christ. You should trust them both. I wasn't trying to be silly. Thank you, Akimi. Hope I'm not pronouncing your name or mispronouncing your name. All right, folks. That was some good stuff. I had that one burning butt cheeks. Marsden Brooks says, butt cheeks. I can't imagine why he would say butt cheeks. but butt cheeks as they run. Oh, he didn't say too much, Deb, but what he did say is that he was I said, what you're doing is Jesuit. I say it's Jesuit. You say it's not, right? Yeah. Well, there you go. Now people at least get a chance to decide what they want to do. I'm not here. I'm only here to bring you to water. I'm not here to force you to drink. I'm only here to bring you to the gospel truth. I'm not here to force you to think. But I am here to call a fool out if he's not doing his homework. I am here to call a fool out if she's trying to scare people. I am here to call out some bad doctrine, to call out some false doctrine, to call out some lazy doctrine, and to call out anything that stirs up fear and guilt and dread. They want us to look for tribulation. Cousin, we're coming into a time of jubilation. And I'm going to start talking about that a whole lot more. I know you get a little tired of hearing about these chuckleheads, but somebody's got to bring it. And remember, it's not just us 7,000 I'm aiming at. I'm aiming at a lot of these other folks. Didn't mean to get in your face like that. Turning the other cheek. Jubilation. It's the time of jubilation. And we'll close on jubilation. We'll close on, we've just moved into a 7-year period of jubilation. You got between now and 2024. Yesterday, you seemed like you're, Rosie Cross, are you going flat earth on me again? I am calling out the Jesuits. I am calling out their master plan. But now I minimize their marker that they put there. You talking about flat earth again? We all say stuff we don't mean. God knows. There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. What is the marker that they are putting out there? I think this house is haunted. Mamma mia. I never said anything about FE. Good. I forget who does it. I know it usually tends to crop up. All righty. I will be back. We're going to start talking about, I am going to show the trail. Yeah, I'm glad you found me too, Tanok. I am going to show the trail of the Jesuits from then till now. And I am going to begin to talk about the jubilation. And we got a lot more coming. And Deb Schuler's absolutely right. Good night, everybody. Peace to all of you. I'm not going to say the B word because I don't want to smear human sacrificial blood all over you. That would be gross. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new, this is what we do. This is about par for the course. But biblical experts and astronomical experts agree. L-A-Z-Y, Marzulli, Scotty got a little sloppy Clark are wrong. And the September 23 Revelation 12 sign is bogus, happens all the time, no big deal. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This has been the gospel truth about the Revelation 12 September 23 sign and the chuckleheads that advocate it. We'll be back with more. And until then, you don't have original sin. You got the spark of divinity within. Be excellent to yourself and be excellent to each other.